Hello, and thank you very much for being here. Welcome back to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. I very much appreciate you guys showing up every single week and sharing the content, all that good stuff. If you have not left a review, please do so. I am told that is helpful, especially if it's a 5-star. Okay, my friends, this is what we are going to talk about today. And that is people that own farm ground that are not using it. So I was having a conversation with somebody on Facebook. We were going back and forth a little bit about this and how frustrated farmers are when they are, looking at farm ground and guess what? It's not being utilized. And so immediately we go to the negative thought process. So let's just break it down a little bit. Okay, so let's think about it. This particular person was saying that you drive around and, apparently his neighbor is wealthy and they own farm ground and they are not using it. And he must be somebody young that wants to get into farming and he cannot use it. He wants land and can't find land to use, and this land has been taken out of production. All right. Then they get tax money based on, they get lower taxes because they're claiming agriculture on that land, so they're not having to pay those taxes. So, number one, if we are not paying taxes, it's because you know how to utilize the tax code. So because somebody owns farm ground and they're not farming, as long as they are claiming agriculture and they are following the tax rules, they're going to get that same exemption. If you don't want that exemption to happen, then you are asking the government to make different rules, right? We have to be careful what we ask the government to be a part of. Because as soon as we ask them to be a part of absolutely anything, guess what? They jump in and they want to be a part of everything. They've crawled into bed with us and we are not getting rid of them. So he went on to say that in his state, they have made a rule that says, you can only claim this on a certain amount of ag land that's not being utilized, I suppose, if you are not an actual farmer or a rancher. So what if something happens to somebody and financially they can't farm it, they can't ranch it, and they have to get back on their feet, being medical expenses, whatever might happen. Maybe they can't physically do it anymore. So now they lose that exemption because of something personal that happened to them. Right? So now we're actually hurting a farmer. If this person comes by and buys all the land, and we all have those people that are wealthy that come in and they buy land and they're not doing anything with it except hunting on it. Even in that case, a lot of those guys are renting it out to somebody. And we're upset because we don't get to own it. We want to own everything. I have seen thousands of farmers' numbers. And owning farm ground is the most expensive thing that you can do. It is a pride factor that says, I own it, my name is on it. That does not mean that you need to own it to make a profit. If you can rent it cheaper than what your land payment would be, wouldn't that be a good thing? So if somebody else owns it and they're allowing you to rent it and that person is still getting an ag exemption, does that not then pass down to you so that you get cheaper rent? If they didn't get the ag exemption, then guess what? You, my friend, get to pay higher rent because you're going to pay for their taxes one way or another. It's called capitalism, and that is how it works. And if we have a neighbor that is wealthy, that has land sitting there, that does not mean that land is always going to be taken out of production. Okay? I bought land that was apparently, according to the neighbor, sitting for 20 years without ever being grazed. 20 years. Now, I've not asked the past owner if that is correct information. I don't know. I didn't live here. But let's just say that it wasn't grazed for 10 years. This guy was a rancher and a farmer. That is who we bought the land from. We got the land in December, and we had cows in here in May grazing it. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a rancher. Am I going to get that egg exemption? You darn right I'm going to try to get that egg exemption. Because why shouldn't I? Just because I'm not the one farming it? I'm still allowing somebody else to farm it. I still put land that was not in production into production. So it doesn't mean that if somebody buys that land and takes it out of production, that doesn't mean it's never going to be in production again. It does not mean that you won't get land because the wealthy person that bought it may not have to, or may have to sell it. Let's look at that as an example. I know somebody that bought land from a out-of-state hunter that wanted to have his own hunting ground. Okay? 2008 and 2009 happened. The market crashed. He had to sell the land and the minerals with it because he was in a financial hardship. So don't ever think that you're never going to get it. If you are 20 some years old and the person living there is 50 or 60, in your lifetime, that land may come up for sale. There are plenty of farmers and ranchers putting land into CRP programs. Are we upset because they're taking it out of production? Some people are, some people aren't. That CRP payment may be something that they have to do to get themselves by. I've had a couple of clients that have had to do some environmental type stuff, some CRP type stuff. They've had to do some of those conservation things to get a payment to keep afloat. And then they better get their act together financially so they know where the heck the money is going that got them there in the first place. Right? But that might save somebody from having to get rid of an operation. We have to, and again, that is a government payment or a payment from some kind of conservation group that now they have say in what happens to our land. Do you want the government in bed with you? But this thought process that nobody can buy land except farmers and ranchers is a little bit crazy. Because farmers and ranchers are the ones selling it to the non-farmer. I mean, think about it. We complain that farmers and ranchers are the ones that are buying up all the land, but we, the farmer and rancher, go sell it to them. Does that even make sense? If we don't want somebody outside of the egg industry to have our land, then we need to stop selling it to people outside of the egg industry. And then we need to stop blaming the people that sold it to people outside of the egg industry. Because then we, the farmer and rancher who did not get the $1 billion offer, says, oh, well, they sold it and they shouldn't have sold it. And I am one of those people that say if we want to save the industry, stop selling it to people outside of the industry. However, when somebody comes through with a massive millions of dollars and $1 billion offer, do you really think that you yourself would say, you know what, I'm not going to take that money. I have struggled my whole entire life, so I'm not going to take that money. I'm just going to keep struggling. Human nature says, my gosh, I absolutely cannot refuse that offer. I am either on the verge of bankruptcy or we are on the verge of retiring, and that is a secure retirement. My family doesn't want to farm, so what does it matter if I sell it to a neighbor? Or gosh, my neighbor is already too big. I'm not going to sell it to them. If we don't want this to happen, then we in the industry need to start selling it to the people that want to get started, and we should be doing for sale by owner or finance by owner, right? If you can finance it because you don't have a loan against it, then finance the young guy to help him get started. We cannot complain on one hand, and on the other hand, do the exact opposite or ask the government to assist us with everything and invite them in. As soon as we give the government an inch, they will take a mile. And that, my friends, is my concern. Do we want somebody telling us what to do with our land? If we tell a neighbor what they can do with their land, then we get told what we can do with our land. Do we merely go ask the person that doesn't have their land in production? Do we merely go ask if we can rent it? Do we explain to them what we're going to do with it? Do we ask what they want done with it? Maybe it's sitting because they don't know somebody that will farm the way they want to farm. I've talked to many people because I speak at a lot of regenerative agriculture conferences, and I have talked to many people that are there, that are landowners and do not farm or ranch, and they don't want the chemicals and the fertilizers and all that stuff on their ground. So they're looking for somebody that will do something regenerative. They're just trying to find somebody. So is that land out of production because they want it farmed differently? Maybe. We don't know. But we sure are good at making assumptions. There are a lot of people that don't care how their land is farmed, right? Maybe for whatever reason, they're just not farming it. But land can be owned by anybody. Why should somebody not farming not use the tax code to their advantage? Wealthy people do not pay taxes. And they don't pay taxes because it's a loophole. They don't pay taxes because they use the tax code to their advantage. If you do not understand the tax code, my friend, you should listen to some podcasts about taxes. It does not matter what our tax code gets lifted to. The wealthy are not going to pay their fair share in taxes. Fair share in air quotes for those of you listening and not watching. Because there are advantages of doing things. Much like farmers have advantages of buying equipment for depreciation. Those advantages are there. That's how some people get ahead. It's how other people go into debt. You have to understand the tax code. It is not a bad thing. It is a bad thing to those who don't understand it and want to complain that somebody is getting something given to them, when in all reality, they're just understanding how it all works. So do you want to understand how it all works? Or would you rather just sit and complain and not understand why they're doing it, what they're doing, how they're doing it? Have you ever talked to these people? You guys, I talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of reasons for a lot of things. But us sitting back and complaining about something because you don't think it's fair, if those words even leave our mouth, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair how? Do you know what that person had to sacrifice to buy that land? There's a lot of reasons for a lot of things. And let's make sure that we are not assuming things. And really, when we see land out of production, how much land is truly out of production? There's a lot of land not owned. A lot of land not owned by the people farming it. It's rare. It is rare. I talk to people that are farming 4,000 or 5,000 acres, 8,000 acres, and they don't own any of it. They lease all of it. They own hardly, some zero, some maybe 1,000 acres. You don't have to own it. Owning it means a payment. And sometimes it's just not worth it to lose sleep over the fact that you don't own something. And if you're young in your lifetime, that's going to have to change hands. And a lot of this younger generation doesn't want to farm. So it gives us an opportunity to have a relationship with that next door neighbor that owns something but doesn't farm it. Here's my biggest thing. When I see people post on Facebook on my page, it absolutely almost sets me off when I see all this negative crap. Oh, we can't do it. Oh, they're taking advantage. It drives me insane. Because I see so many people that are doing it, that are starting from scratch. People that are having to do things they don't want to do to save what they have. But yet we're out there just making assumptions by looking at something from the other side of the fence. We don't know. We don't know what's going on the other side of the fence. And so sometimes we need to just think about it before we start complaining about it. Maybe it's just a matter of going over and saying, how can I help? Hey, introduce yourself. This is who I am. Right? Because the guy on the other side of the fence is really tired of people making assumptions about him as well. Okay, my friends, I just encourage you to think a little bit. I have to remind myself as well. So just think a little bit about really what's going on. Can we change it? Do we want the government in our bed? People are doing things for a reason. All right. I hope that just made you think a little bit. But that's all I got on that subject. Not quite as heated as it probably would have been had I recorded this when I was in the debate online. So thankfully, I did not have time to do that and saved you from yet another yelling match between me and me. All right, y'all. If you have anything you want to hear, let me know. Email me, maryjo@withoutthebank.com. I am happy to go over those things and address those things. If you have not gotten the book, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, grab the book there, and I will see you next week. You guys have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.